today I'm assisting to our wonderful speaker, Xinyi. She's representing the Giving What We Can, and she's gonna demystify a set of stereotypes about the 10% pledge, share her personal journey in this sector and more. Our session is gonna last for 25 minutes. We unfortunately won't have Q&A session, but feel free to use the swap card to share your comments and questions, and you can join to the booth in the corridors where you can ask any kind of questions and have personal conversation. There's also not going to be the office hours, so please enjoy our speaker, Xinyi. She's the executive assistant to the CEO of the Giving What We Can. She's the alumna of Oxford and NYU Abu Dhabi. She has background in philosophy and education, and now, please.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Thanks for the wonderful introduction, Greg. Thanks, Tim. And yeah, like Utrecht mentioned, if you have any questions or comments about the 10% pledge, we'll be at the booth all weekend. Feel free to drop by. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I know that there are a lot of wonderful speakers and events happening this weekend, so I really appreciate you taking the time to join us in this talk. I'm actually just pinching myself a little bit. It feels quite surreal that I'm representing an organization that I've admired since I first heard about effective altruism as an undergrad student in philosophy. And I'm so thrilled to chat to you about the 10% pledge today, a phrase you'll probably hear a lot throughout this weekend, if not already, the little diamond that you see on the swap card. We'll be talking about what that is about. We'll cover what it is, its history, its growth. I'll then walk you through some potential considerations to giving, some common myths and misconceptions and about the 10% pledge, and share some reasons to why people do commit. I do want to emphasize, before I walk you through all of this, that pledging is really personal. While I'm biased to think that the 10% pledge has lots to offer, I do hope that by the end of this talk, you'll have some useful information that lets you make an informed decision about whether pledging fits into your personal journey of doing good. And I forgot to take the clicker. Let me do that. So, with that being said, let's begin by covering what the 10% pledge is. It was started in 2009 by Will MacAskill and Toby Ord. They recognized that because of the severe global income inequality and the availability of highly available, highly effective, and inexpensive life-saving interventions, the average person living in a high-income country could have a significant impact by donating a portion of their income to highly effective charities. So they created the 10% pledge to encourage and inspire people to do just that, to commit at least 10% of their income to effective charities over their lifetime. And this is Toby sending out the welcome packs. This is a tradition we still do, although we don't do that in Toby's living room anymore. We have providers that help us deliver that to each new pledgers. So let's talk about the impact of such a pledge. To do this, we ask the question, what if the top 1% of all income earners worldwide donate 10% of their income? Well, in just 2 years, this is everything we could accomplish. We could greatly reduce malaria, tuberculosis, HIV. We could get rid of most neglected tropical diseases and massively expand access to reproductive care. We could end hunger and provide clean water to everyone. We could also eliminate extreme poverty entirely for at least 2 years. We could cut factory farming in half, build systems to prevent pandemics, double spending on clean energy research, and greatly increase funding for nuclear security and AI safety. And that's everything that could happen in just 2 years. Imagine what we could achieve in a decade. And of course, you might think, that's because the top 1% is really, really rich. So let me ask you another question. What income do you think you have to earn to be a part of the top 1% globally, post-tax? And as I've learned that in the Netherlands, this is net income. Could everyone just take a few seconds to think about the answer? And we can take the Netherlands as an example since we're here. So the question is, how much post-tax income does one have to make in the Netherlands to be in the top 1% of the global population? Okay, everyone just take 3 seconds to think about a number. Okay, are we ready? And before I show you the results, could I get a show of hands Raise your hand if you think you have to earn at least 500K euros post-tax to be in the global top 1%. No one? OK. 300K? 300K post-tax? And now this is sounding like an auction. What about 100K? 100K? 80K? OK, great. Thank you. Results time. The bar to entry to be the top 1% globally might be lower than we think. In the Netherlands, that figure is 54,200 euros post-tax. That figure is 46,000 in the UK and 62,000 in the US, all in local currencies. And you can find the answers not just to the Netherlands, but for all countries around the world using our How Rich Am I calculator. And I encourage everyone to check where they stand on the global income distribution. The results might surprise you. Definitely, definitely surprise me. I'll give you all just a few seconds to do that. And if you need the QR code, come find me at the pledge booth. I'm happy to provide it, but I'll keep us moving. And we all know that our world now has plenty of resources to fix all the worst problems. We're just not using these resources right. What I really like about this graph is not just the pretty figures, but the vision it represents, where people use rationality and compassion to help each other and the planet we live in, where resources are directed to actually making the world a better place. And as you can see, the potential is really immense. And this is why, at Giving What We Can, we believe that the 10% Pledge is a fantastic tool to help us achieve the mission of creating a world in which giving effectively and significantly is a cultural norm. And achieving this vision would unlock an incredible amount of funding to tackle some of the world's worst problems. The 10% Pledge is a commitment to donate at least 10% of your income to organizations that you think can mostly improve the lives of others. And over the past 15 years, this very small initiative that started in a few locations in the UK and the US have grown into a global community of nearly 9,000 people in 101 countries. Thank you, Xie. While they have different backgrounds, these individuals share the commitment to effectively use their resources to improve the lives of others. They understand that donations given to the right charities could go a really long way. They also feel a sense of responsibility to help others, recognizing the relative privilege and luck they have experienced, and believe that every life, regardless of location or status, is equally valuable. And these simple yet powerful ideas also led me to take my 10% Pledge officially in 2022, after years of trialing. I'll also share more about my experience and the trial pledge a bit later in the talk. And we know that the pledge works for getting people to give effectively and significantly in the long term. In our impact evaluation, we were pleasantly surprised to find that the data suggests the average recorded donation for a Giving What We Can pledger tend to increase the longer they give. In fact, this increase is so significant that it comfortably offsets the donations lost from pledgers who drop out. And so far, our community of pledgers have donated over $200 million, which is an incredible amount of impact for less than 9,000 people. And we're just getting started. In 2024, we're aiming to reach 10,000 active 10% pledges, helping us to lay the groundwork to ultimately reach more than 1 million pledgers. And every new pledge moves us closer to a world in which giving significantly and effectively is a cultural norm. We would love you to join us. We're actually hoping to reach 9,000 active 10% pledges this weekend. We just need 14 more. And if you're interested, come chat to us at the pledge booth. And you might wonder, these figures seem great, but I'm not a part of the 1%. Does it still matter if I pledge and donate? And this is something that I questioned as a student. I lived on a really small stipend, but I still wanted to make a difference. And then I learned about the cost effectiveness of some charities. That, for example, for just 50p, a child could be treated for debilitating parasitic infection. $8 helps to vaccinate a child that wouldn't have been otherwise. And I remember one day just going down this rabbit hole and learning about the cost effectiveness of different charities and wanting to take a lunch break. I then realized that the cheapest meal in my university dining hall was $9.99. And I went to a British school, so the food wasn't even that tasty. So to me, the math seemed really simple. Even a donation as small as $1 given to the right charities could go a really long way. I started regularly donating 3% of my stipend for 3 years, and then I eventually switched to a 10% pledge after I started working and making a stable income. Now, if this were a sales pitch, I might just end the talk right here. I'll highlight the billions and trillions of dollars that could go towards solving the world's biggest problems if we all give 10%. I'll then have a link to the sign-up form and urge you to do that right here and right now. However, we at Giving What We Can really want people to make a well-informed choice before making such a significant commitment. Taking the 10% pledge offers an extraordinary opportunity to do good. And before you decide to sign up, we thought it would be helpful to share some factors people consider before committing. I'll cover patterns that we've discovered through our user interviews, which also aligns with what we found anecdotally through informal discussions with members in our community. Let's start with some of the reasons why people might be hesitant to take the pledge. So, one of the hesitations people understandably might have about pledging is whether it's financially sustainable for them. This concern is especially common among people early in their careers who have not yet had a stable job, or those with significant uncertainty or existing financial commitments, like family support. For those without a safety net, emergency fund, or those who are currently in stressful financial situations, pledging 10% just might not be practical. It's important to look after yourself first. This is where considering other giving options, such as the trial pledge, might make more sense. And some people in our user interviews express concerns about taking a lower paid job, but more impactful job in the future, and fearing that they may not have enough to donate. This concern might be particularly relevant to members in this audience, and when planning for the future, it can be helpful to consider what you might expect to earn in a lower paying job to gauge how much you would be able to give. And for people like myself, who chose to work for a nonprofit rather than pursuing more lucrative careers, I actually found that earning less while giving 10% was a lot easier than I expected. But everyone is different, and we urge you to think about what option of giving works best for you. And the next common barrier is to pledging that emerged from my user interview is this concern about making a long-term commitment. Some people were reluctant to commit to the 10% pledge because they didn't want to constrain their future selves. They were worried that their priorities and values and needs might change in the future, and pledging might not feel right over time. Others were more concerned about not being able to uphold the pledge due to changing circumstances, and felt that breaking a serious commitment would be unacceptable to them. And as I mentioned earlier, we view the pledge as a serious commitment, but one can be broken in unforeseen circumstances. We like to refer to the example of entering a marriage. It's rare to enter a marriage wanting to get divorced. People get married with the full intention of staying together, but obviously divorce happens. And sometimes it's just the best response to a changing circumstance. And this hesitation about making a long-term commitment is really valid, and it's one that I resonated quite personally. I started giving, as I mentioned, when I was a student. I didn't have much. I was really lost. I didn't know where I was going to live, what I wanted to do, who I was, or who I wanted to become. But the acknowledgement that my donations are making a concrete, positive impact in the world gave me an incredible sense of comfort because of all the other factors of instability in my life. And that's a flip side to this consideration, the grounding aspect of being a pledger that I think is also important to consider. There were also concerns about social judgment or negative perceptions of do-gooder behavior that can be a barrier to pledging. For many people, giving is private, and they worry that being public about their giving would create a negative perception to their friends and family. Anecdotally, I've seen this go both ways. Some people have had negative experiences when sharing their giving habits, while others have had very positive experiences that brought them even closer to their friends and family, and even inspired others to give effectively. Obviously, you don't have to talk about pledging to others if you prefer to keep your giving private. But if you are interested in helping more people learning about the pledge, inspiring them, we're running a workshop tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. in this very room, and you're free and available and you're interested in learning, please feel free to drop by. We'd love to see you there. There's also this perception of having satisfied moral requirements, or simply put, feeling like you've done enough. Some people believe that engaging in an impactful career is sufficient for fulfilling the moral obligations, reducing the perceived need to take the pledge. I do think it is important to consider how much of your resources you'd like to dedicate to doing good. We should be mindful that it is okay to have multiple goals and values and priorities and not feeling like you need to spend all your time and resources on helping others. That said, we believe that the giving at least 10% effectively is an extraordinary opportunity to do good that is worth considering for many people, including those already having an impactful career. Another common consideration that makes people hesitant about pledging is feeling like there's a lack of compelling value proposition if they're already donating 10% anyways. If you're already committed to giving 10%, you're not worried about value drift, you don't need a community, and you don't believe that the pledge is necessary in encouraging a social norm, you might decide not to pledge. And we're certainly really happy for people to give effectively and significantly, even if they're not pledging. However, we do believe that there is significant value in taking the pledge if you're already giving 10%. Social proof is powerful. The longer the list of pledgers, the easier it is for others who might need a commitment device or the support of a community to be inspired to sign as well. Additionally, signing the pledge can make it easier to talk about your giving with friends and family. One of the biggest sources of new pledges is referrals. So if signing the pledge doesn't seem like a high cost to you, the power of social proof and the fact that many new pledges come from referrals might be strong reasons to consider doing so. And I mentioned the trial pledge earlier, so I just want to expand on that a little bit more. If any of the aforementioned barriers and considerations resonate with you, and you want to give effectively, but you're not sure about the 10% commitment, taking a trial pledge could be a great alternative that allows you to try before you fully commit. With a trial pledge, you can pledge any amount from 1 to 10% that you feel confident you can give, and you can pledge that for a duration from 6 months to 5 years. The trial pledge can be a great alternative to test out giving at a higher level, see if a formal commitment helps you live up to your values, or gradually scale your commitment over time. In our user research, we also found some common myths and misconceptions about the 10% pledge, which prevented people from giving. One of them being that you have to donate at least 10% of your income annually. While we strongly encourage people to keep in the habit of giving regularly, at least annually if you can, the pledge itself is over one's lifetime. And we have members who might donate less in 1 year and less and more in another, as long as they're mindful to ensure they meet the 10% of their total income over the years. Another myth is that only the charities on the Giving When We Can platform count towards your pledge. The pledge is to give organizations that can most improve the lives of others, and it's up to each pledger to decide what this means to them. Giving When We Can, of course, provides guidance on how to give effectively based on our research. We also bundle impactful charities by cause areas to make the donation process easier. And ultimately, it is a pledger's decision to select the organizations that you believe are the most effective. And another myth is that there's only one pledge and it's all or nothing, where in fact, we have a few different options. We have the trial pledge and the 10% pledge, which I've already discussed. But to recap, the trial pledge allows you to choose the percentage and the duration of your giving. The 10% pledge involves giving 10% of your income until you retire. We also offer two other options. The further pledge, which lets you specify what you want to live on and donate the rest, so that's quite a big commitment. The company pledge, which allows companies to giving 10% of their profits to highly effective charities. Our trial and further pledges also includes customized options for students, retirees, and others who aren't currently earning an income. If you're not earning an income, but you want to take a standard pledge, you would just give 1% of your spending money until you start earning your income, after which you begin giving your pledged amount. An additional exciting option is the possibility to pledge wealth now as a part of the 10% and trial pledges. This is something we've done in partnership with Chris Anderson, the head of TED, for the launch of his book, Infectious Generosity. This book, Xinyi, also made Bill Gates' list of 5 books to read this summer. Gates specifically wrote an entire article on infectious generosity, saying that he was, quote, especially intrigued by Chris's proposal of a universal giving pledge, where everyone commits to donating 10% of their income or 2.5% of their wealth annually. And that is the very 10% pledge that we've discussing in this talk. So I've showed you some reasons why people may not be pledging. Now let's look at some reasons why people do commit. Whenever someone pledges, they're asked to share their motivation for doing so. And as staff at Giving When We Can, we get these notifications whenever there's a new pledge. And it's always a highlight of our workday. And your motivations truly, truly keep us motivated. So here are some of the recent ones that we've received, and I'd like to share them with you today. Why did you pledge? One person said, among many other reasons, I believe that nobody is responsible for where and under what circumstances they were born, but basically everyone deserves to lead a life worth living. Someone else shared that I've been waiting to donate till I have enough to donate something, but that's probably been the case since the day I was born. Another pledger shared that I believe donating to the right causes can truly make a difference. I also believe that pledging to do so publicly signals that belief is sincere and might inspire others to do the same. And as you can see, there are some common themes in pledgers' motivations. Some people do it because they recognize that the luck of being born into a good life allows us the privilege to help others. Some people pledge because they feel like giving is the right thing to do or responsibility, or a recognition that money can do a lot more for others than it can do for us, or wishing to inspire others to give or set an example for others, wanting to take action about giving, i.e. just start doing something, or a desire for accountability and commitment that the pledge provides. And pledging is deeply personal, and people have various reasons to what drove them to the 10% pledge. I'll give you all a moment to look through these motivations. I always find them really inspiring and heartwarming, and it's truly incredible to see that people are genuinely caring and wanting to do good in the world. Okay, and we're running out of time, so I need to speed along. But if you have questions, again, come chat to us at the pledge booth. And our goal of reaching 10%, sorry. So does any of these motivations resonate with any of you? Can you show a hand if it does? Oh, this is amazing. Thank you. So if this calls to you, I strongly encourage you to take the 10% pledge and join us in our goal of reaching 10,000 active 10% pledges and lay the groundwork for growth for our next 10,000 and hopefully to 100,000 and 1 million and beyond. And we want you to be a part of that journey so we can achieve all of this amazing results together. And every new pledge moves us closer to a world in which giving effectively and significantly is a norm. It's tough trying to change a norm, even in a relatively small community. A lot of people are worried about the judgment, or being the only one they know of who donates 10% or has pledged. And the more we can grow our community and add more names to a public list, help more people across the world feel connected, some of these barriers we've discussed will go away. But we need those who are willing to be a part of the first 10,000 to empower the next 10,000 people to do something out of the ordinary. And this weekend, we just need 14 more pledges to hit 9,000. So if you see me at the conference, feel free to stop me and we can talk about pledging. You can also swing by the pledge booth, which is set up right opposite of the Quest, to ask questions and share comments about the 10% pledge. And if you're already a pledger, we have a workshop tomorrow that we'd love to see you there. And follow this code if you want to read more. I want to end by saying that taking the 10% pledge requires a small leap of faith, but it often just comes down to choosing a day and taking action. And maybe today is the day that you decide to start. Thank you so much for your time, and let's chat about pledging options at the Giving When We Can booth. Thank you, Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, though. It was, I think, one of the most insightful presentations during the EAGxUtrecht. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you for the team for organizing this event. Please join the booth and ask your questions, and I believe after this session, we will have more pledgers committed to give how much they can. Thank you so much.